It's official, as multiple insiders have reported that the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins has been revealed, and all signs point to this one coach in particular being hired. But Kyle Dubas is still narrowing his search. We're going to break down who the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins will be and why Penguins fans should be fired up about it. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Penguins Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Pittsburgh Penguins, this is the place to be for all your daily Pittsburgh Penguins news. So go down below, hit that free subscribe button, and you get to stay up to date with everything happening with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But Mark, like we covered yesterday, there is one coach that is standing head and shoulders above the rest in terms of candidates to be hired to be the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And we have a new update from multiple insiders about what it's looking like right now. And it looks like it's between two candidates. And Jay Woodcroft is out. He is not going to be the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins by all accounts. But this is from David Pagnotta, and he goes on to say that as the Penguins go on their final rounds of head coaching interviews this week, DJ Smith, which I think is very interesting because there is a connection to Kyle Dubas through Toronto with that, and Mitch Love remain among the front runners in Pittsburgh. The Pens are meeting with Smith either tomorrow or Friday, so a decision will be coming very soon. Like we mentioned in the previous video, Kyle Dubas was a little bit busy with obviously the World Hockey Championship, so he's back in office and trying to get this done as soon as possible so they can start working together. And another report from Cam Robinson said that, for what it's worth, every team side source I've spoken to this week believes that Mitch Love will be the guy, will be the next head coach. And we covered it in a previous video. But Mark, what are your thoughts on this? At this point in time, it's looking like either, DJ Smith or Mitch Love. I know which one I would prefer, but I do respect that there is a history between Kyle Dubas and DJ Smith.
I think Mitch Love is the one you have to go for. Coming in as the next head coach would be a huge step in the right direction for him. He's going to have some growing pains. Coming in as a head coach for the first time with the Penguins, he's going to soak in a lot. Call him a soaker. Shout out to Utah fans, anyone watching that. But the big thing is right now, bringing in Mitch Love, so many teams have this guy on their radar. Seeing that he's looking like the top candidate shows that he chose this position over multiple teams. I mean, not Utah, sorry, but Seattle's called everyone under the moon, including him as well. But I think Mitch Love's the obvious one. No hate to DJ Smith. He could come in. He has a connection with Dubas, but I think you need to lean towards Mitch Love as the next head coach.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, this is a guy in Mitch Love that if he gets selected for this position, he is choosing this position because it seems like Seattle's pushing hard for him. There's a couple other teams in the mix as well, including the Boston Bruins, that want Mitch Love. And if you're not familiar with who Mitch Love is, he's a great coach and a great assistant coach. And he's currently the assistant coach. Again, it's not going to stay that way. He's going to be a head coach in the league somewhere next year, whether it's with the Penguins or somewhere else. But, he's an assistant coach right now with the Washington Capitals and helped turn their season around too. Him and Spencer Carberry have done fantastic work together over there in in Washington. And that's what Pittsburgh is trying to mimic. That's what Mike Sullivan was saying. That's what Kyle Dubas was saying, that they're trying to do what the Washington Capitals have done. Not a full-on tear-down rebuild, but a retool on the fly, and then you can get back to competing and contending. So that's exactly what they're looking to do, and I think Mitch Love would be the guy for the job. But Mark, is there anybody left that you think, what do you think about DJ Smith? We should at least, talk about it because there is history there between him and Kyle Dubas in Toronto, right? DJ Smith was the assistant coach when Mike Babcock was coach. He then moved on to Ottawa. He has experience as a head coach in this league. Not the greatest experiment, that's for sure, in Ottawa, but they're at least interviewing him. They're doing their due diligence. It's looking like Mitch Love, if he wants to take the job, it's looking like it's going to be his, but we got to at least discuss DJ Smith.
I mean, with DJ Smith, we know his history. He was an assistant coach with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've seen him go on to a head coach, something that Mitch Love has not done. He has the experience there, but I think overall you almost take a flyer on a guy like Mitch Love instead, because DJ Smith, yes, he can bring in the experience he had from Ottawa, which wasn't the best so far. We've seen him kind of leave Toronto, and Toronto's that whole disaster of never winning a Stanley Cup since TV turned into color. But I think the big thing is you want to go out. This is a team that's going to go through a small retool. You bring in a coach. Mitch Love could only be here for 2 years, but if he excels what you're bringing him in for, that would be ideal. But I think with just a resume with DJ Smith, you almost want to go for a guy that you can almost bank on, a low risk, high reward, instead of going for DJ Smith that could turn out to be an absolute disaster again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with Mitch Love, he knows how to work with younger players as well and revitalize careers. We've seen that with Jacob Chikrin over the last year as well, and what he's been able to do with him, turning him into a 20 goal scorer on the blue line, right? So he can work with some younger players, revitalize careers. DJ Smith, can he work with younger players? Yes, but I feel like he's a coach that is a player's coach, but maybe in the wrong way. Like I feel like players sometimes walk all over him, and we saw it a little bit in Toronto, Ottawa too. They didn't get the results that they needed, and I would be very skeptical about hiring somebody like that for this role where the Penguins are at right now, because they have a lot of young guys on the team. So, it might be a Montreal situation where they did turn things around. If you look around the league, like Montreal did end up making the playoffs this year, but for a bit there, it looked like Martin St. Louis was going to be the guy to kind of usher them through, like in the rebuild, but not through the rebuild, if that makes sense. Like there was going to have to be another guy. It hasn't worked out that way, but I kind of see that with DJ Smith, that if they do want to end up contending, I don't know if he's the guy for the job right now. So it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. But of course, Mike Sullivan had a vision for this team. It seemed like it was different from Kyle Dubas' vision. That's why they parted ways. But it looks like Mitch Love will be the next head coach, and he could end up going to the Bruins, like mentioned here from Kevin Weeks as well. Per source, Jay Woodcroft is still in the mix for a lot of teams as well. Doesn't look like he's going to be the one for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Marco Sturm as well, which I think is very interesting. But a couple really good options left. And like mentioned, David Quinn is on Seattle's list as well. Again, there's so many coaches out there, and it seems like a lot of teams have their number ones. And it looks like for the Pittsburgh Penguins, it is Mitch Love. And as you can see here, great praise from the president and general manager of the Saskatoon Blades when he was there, if you want to pause and read that. But Mitch Love did meet with Kyle Dubas face to face this week. So Mark, any final thoughts on Mitch Love and this whole coaching search? I think it's gone on longer than they would have liked, but again, Kyle Dubas, can't blame him. He was busy with Team Canada, which was disappointing as well. Have to bring that up, but was fun to see Crosby and Fleury play together. But any final thoughts on the coaching search, and do you think it is Mitch Love that will be the guy? I think at this point, like, it's pretty obvious with all these reports from not only Cam Robinson but also David Pagnotta.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think with all these reports coming out, it's going to end up being Mitch Love, and that's a good thing in my opinion. There's a lot of coaches that we talked to recently on Jay Woodcroft. He would fit as a good players coach. You have guys like Sturm coming in that could have been a good head coach. We haven't seen him in the NHL. He was an assistant. He coached the Olympics. I actually thought he would be a great Ken as well. DJ Smith, I would kind of push to the outside, but kind of throwing it back to you real fast, Darius. With a lot of these teams still in the hunt, we have 4 teams in the playoffs right now. Would you be surprised if Dubas kind of wanted to wait until this last conference final round is over to maybe see if one of the coaches? I mean, right now we have the Carolina Hurricanes that are 1-15 in the last 16 conference games. Could you see maybe Dubas waiting just to see if the odd chance that one of these guys are open?
I could, because we saw a couple GMs wait for the second round to finish to do that as well, because a lot of guys are getting fired, or we don't know what's happening with certain players. So I could see a world where he does wait, but personally, I don't see a world where Pete DeBoer gets let go at this point. I think the Oilers are going to make the finals, so what they've done with Chris Knoblauch back-to-back finals is crazy. Paul Maurice is probably not going anywhere. And then, of course, with the Carolina Hurricanes, has it been disappointing in terms of conference final? Yes, but they locked up Rod Brindamore. I think he's the guy for that team. I just think that the player personnel on that team is not good enough. But it's going to be interesting to see. We want to hear what you have to say in the comments, though, about Mitch Love and maybe DJ Smith. It looks like they might be the finalists at this point for the role, if that might be fair to say at this point. But let us know who you'd rather have as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.